Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. I recently became curious about which puppet movie is considered to be the worst by general audiences. After doing some digging, I found the puppet movie with the least stars on IMDB. That film, Hobgoblins. It's about a guy called Kevin, who becomes a security guard at an abandoned film studio to impress his judgmental girlfriend. One night, Kevin tries chasing after a trespasser, only to end up unleashing a horde of hobgoblins onto the city. After watching this film, I think that IMDb users were way too generous for giving this disaster a 2 out of 10. Yep, it's that bad. Every aspect of this film completely fails. Pick anything from this movie, anything at all, and I will tell you that it's done horribly. Let's start with our characters, none of which are likeable enough to root for, or fun to hate enough to cheer on their deaths. Kevin is a whiny guy who is pathetically desperate to prove himself to his high-maintenance girlfriend.
Are you okay? Do you want me to call an ambulance?
No, I'm fine.
Damn!
What's the matter?
I just wish Amy could have been here to see what I just did.
Kevin's girlfriend Amy is such a demanding pain that I don't see what Kevin sees in her.
You really humiliated me.
What? I didn't even want to do this. It was your idea.
Well, I don't care whose idea it was. I wanted you to win.
How was I supposed to win, Amy? I've never even done this before. It was an unfair match.
Kyle is a horny loser who keeps wasting Kevin's phone line to listen to a tacky sex line. Daphne is a sexist caricature who is only interested in bonking her boyfriend every 5 minutes. And Nick is a total blockhead who pressures his friends into fights to show off his soldier skills. I was kind of hoping that Kevin's supervisor, McCready, would be the sensible and good-hearted character to compensate for the charisma-free leads. But I didn't like him either. Like when Kevin opens up to him about his girlfriend, he turns the discussion into an excuse to share a war story.
Well, we've got this friend who's in the army. And my girlfriend's upset because I couldn't do all the things that he can.
I see. Did I ever tell you what I did when I was in the army?
Oh, and he's the one who kept the hobgoblins trapped all these years? But his attempt at security, despite being a security guard, is so half-arsed. The door to the hobgoblins' prison is not securely locked. McCready just nags new staff not to go into their vault, and hopes for the best. You can tell that his security efforts are only lackluster so that the story can happen. Contrivance, thy name is Hobgoblins. It also turns out that McCready was a demolitions expert in the war, and he's the one to blow up the hobgoblins in the end. Wait, so McCready was hiding these evil monsters for 30 years, and he could have just detonated them all this time? What? Are you kidding me?
You stupid idiot!
Now, I was kind of hoping that this film would be unintentionally funny, like The Room or Troll 2, a film full of bizarre moments and quotable nonsensical dialogue. But this is an intentional comedy, and a really unfunny one at that.
You there! Name, rank, serial number.
Don't shoot me. I'm just an employee. I don't even book the talent here.
The comedy tries to be raunchy and adult, yet it just comes off as childish and corny. It really wants to be naughty humoured, but it holds back on its X-rated content and relies on cartoon sound effects to be funny sometimes. I didn't laugh a single time during this movie. I mainly just sighed, groaned, and rolled my eyes. If you're going into this movie with hope of seeing some violent gore or scary creature attacks, then oh boy will you feel let down. All the gore happens off screen. And there's no creepy tension during build-up. Much like the comedy, the horror is very tame. It doesn't help that this film has incredibly low production values. The direction is so dang amateur. Like, the cinematography is mainly made up of dull wide static shots of the cast standing around talking. The sound clearly needed ADR.
You've never been on a studio lot like this before, have you?
No, sir.
Well, it's not that difficult to keep track of. There isn't much goes on here anymore.
The cheap lighting makes for hard-to-see night scenes, and the background locations are painfully boring. I should also mention that the hobgoblins have the power to make their victims experience their greatest fantasies as illusions, in order to trap them for a kill, which sounds like a cool and fun idea for a monster gimmick. but the film's shoestring budget hampers any imaginative potential, and the filmmakers just settle with whatever they can get hold of on the spot. So we end up with one or two types of fantasies. A guest actor coming on set to be a rambling illusion to coerce a character.
Now, isn't that a lovely view?
Oh, it sure is.
Or a character becomes a star on a nightclub stage. It's all very limiting. Some of these fantasies are used to develop characters, like Amy dreams that she's a stripper, showing that she's been repressing another side to herself, but this aspect of her was never foreshadowed before the fantasy took place, so it's less of an interesting character insight and more just random, as well as yet another creepy excuse to sexualize a young female character, while Kevin imagines a rematch against the Trespasser, but who cares about a deeply insecure man trying to flex his masculinity to a woman who looks down on him? There's just much better examples of villains trancing their victims in other films, like Age of Ultron, which taps into each hero's personal trauma to weaken them.
You could have saved us.
Or Anastasia, when Anya has a warm, nostalgic dream that forces her to sleepwalk to her death. Those films embrace what dreams can do, and explore the scary side of being unconscious, something Hobgoblins could have done too. But the real icing on the cake has to be how garbage the puppetry is. There's zero effort to hide that these are puppets. With every Hobgoblin being so poorly puppeteered, that you can always tell that it's just an inexperienced puppeteer's hand wiggling them around like they've never puppeteered before. Whenever a Hobgoblin attacks a victim, it's all down to the actors to convince us that they're fighting a ferocious monster. But every actor looks like they're just wrestling a teddy bear. Say what you will about other Gremlins rip-off movies, but at least they have original creature designs. The Hobgoblins in this movie are just furry gremlins. There were no attempts to come up with a brand new monster species. They just made me want to watch the OG Gremlins movies instead. To conclude, Hobgoblins is a tacky and boring film that's an insult to the art of puppet filmmaking. It's a super cheap film that wants to be a raunchy and dark horror comedy for grown-ups, but it reminded me way more of a bad Scooby-Doo episode. Don't let your morbid curiosity get the best of you, because it's a waste of time. I have been Jambareeqi. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, and support me on Patreon. So what am I going to be reviewing in the next episode of Puppet Panic? Well, after many requests, I'm finally going to be sharing my thoughts on Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Cheerio, folks.